Today, the ALLATRA team is in Bonn for the 62nd session of the subsidiary bodies under the UN Climate Convention SB6, also known as the June Climate Meetings. Around 4,000 delegates from all over the world have gathered here to prepare for the upcoming UN Climate Conference COP30 in Brazil. The ALLATRA team has given several presentations at SB6, covering topics such as biosphere pollution by nanoplastics, the Siberian magma plume, and the increase in natural disasters. These contributions generated strong interest and broad resonance among the audience. We firmly believe that a united international scientific community is essential to address the urgent global challenges of our time. Only through global cooperation can solutions be found for these existential threats.
Dear colleagues, dear friends, we are from the ALLATRA International Public Movement, an independent volunteer organization conducting large-scale research in the fields of geodynamics and environmental transformation. For over 3 decades, this interdisciplinary research has explored the root causes of the global crisis. And for more than 10 years, our volunteers are sharing these unfiltered findings with the world. Our work has been shared at the highest levels, from UN forums like COPE to a private audience with His Holiness Pope Francis, who personally blessed our efforts to protect humanity. We believe that bridging science, society, and all sectors of responsibility is essential to navigating the challenges ahead. Our research has culminated in 3 reports. One detailed the alarming growth of disasters you just saw. The next uncovers the invisible plague of nanoplastics. The third reveals a geodynamic threat originated deep within the Earth. We are here today to discuss a threat that until recently has remained largely invisible, and yet it is scaling into a planetary crisis. We are talking about nanoplastics. This presentation, Nanoplastics in the Biosphere from Molecular Impact to Planetary Crisis, will reveal how these microscopic particles are not just an environmental issue, but a profound challenge to a global climate stability and the very future of human health. We present this crucial information on behalf of a collaboration between ALLATRA International Public Movement, the Bolivian Catholic University San Pablo, and the Creative Society International Project. We call our era the information age, the space age, but geologists of the future may well call it the plastic age. Since the 1950s, we have produced over 9 billion tons of plastic. As you can see from this chart, based on the data in our report, only a tiny fraction is recycled. The vast majority, billions of tons, has been discarded. But here is the critical point. Discarded does not mean gone. Every single piece of that plastic which is ever produced, with an exception of small amount we are incinerated, still exists. It is now breaking down into a fine toxic dust that is silently blanketing our planet, a legacy that we will leave for millennia. This toxic dust has no borders. It's truly a global contaminant. As our report documents, scientists have found nanoplastics in the most remote places on Earth, from the crusting depths of Mariana Trench to the pristine summit of Mount Everest, frozen in Arctic ice and carried on atmospheric currents across continents. More alarmingly, they have infiltrated our life completely. They are in the water we drink, both tap and bottled. They are in the soil that grows our food, which means that they are in the fruits and vegetables that we eat. They are in the rain that falls from the sky, and more distinctly in the very air we breathe. How does a plastic bottle become a global threat? Through fragmentation. Under the influence of sunlight and water, plastic objects don't biodegrade like organic matter. They simply break apart into smaller and smaller pieces. First microplastics, then nanoplastics. These particles are smaller than a virus, and these nanoscale, their property, change. They become so light that they can carry it by the wind like a gas. Their surface areas becomes immense, allowing them to carry other toxins. This is invisible threat, a process turning our plastic waste into a pervasive, penetrating dust that our planet has no way of cleaning up. As outlined in Section 2 of our report, the consequences for the biosphere are catastrophic. The very foundation of our marine food web, plankton, is indigesting these particles. This is terrifying because oceanic plankton produces more than half of the oxygen we breathe. When plankton is sick, the planet cannot breathe. Our coral reefs, the vibrant cities of the sea, are dying. They mistake plastic for food, leading to diseases and bleaching. The entire food chain is contaminated. Every animal in the ocean, from the smallest fish to the great whales, is consuming plastic. This isn't an ecological tragedy. This is a dismantling of our planet life support systems. And what affects the planet affects us. The invasion is not just external, it is internal. As Section 3 of our report details, nanoplastics are now found in every single human organ has been tested. They are in our blood, our lungs, our livers. Most shockingly, recent studies have found staggering concentration in the human brain. To give you a tangible example, the average person today may have the equivalent of the entire plastic spoon worth of a nanoplastics accumulated in the brain tissue. Let that sink in. It is not a distant, abstract environmental problem. This is a direct contamination of our bodies. How can something so small be so dangerous? The answer lies in the physics and biology. Nanoplastics carry an electrostatic charge. This charge acts like a key, allowing them to bypass our body's natural defenses and penetrate deep inside our cells. Once inside, they target the very power horses of our cells, the mitochondria. By disrupting mitochondrial function, they cut off the cell's energy supply. This leads to oxidative stress, which is a primary driver of aging and disease. They also cause direct physical damage to our DNA, leading to mutations. This is cellular sabotage on a massive scale, happening inside all of us right now. The cellular damage is manifesting as a wave of modern epidemics, staging a rise in neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinsonism, the explosion in autoimmune disorders and cancers, even in young people, the increased risk of heart attacks and strokes, and perhaps most chillingly, the catastrophic decline in human fertility. We are not just making ourselves sick, we are compromising the very future of our species. In the next few slides, we will look at some of these impacts in more detail. Let's look closer at this core problem, the electrostatic charge. As detailed on pages 92 to 97 of our report, plastic particles become charged through friction and their chemical structure. This charge is the key to their toxicity. Our nervous system, our heart, our brain, they all function based on precise electrical signals. Charged nanoplastics create electrical chaos. They stick to cell membranes, destabilizing their electrical potential. They can physically block ion channels, which are the gateways for nerve signals. And they act as the magnets for other toxins, pesticides, and viruses, creating a super toxic particle that is delivered deep into our tissues. This is the mechanism of turning an inert piece of plastic into a biologically active weapon against our own bodies. Nowhere is this electrical interference more dangerous than in our brain. Nanoplastic can cross the supposedly impenetrable blood-brain barrier. Once inside, as the report notes on page 108, they are drawn to the lipid-rich myelin sheaths that insulate our neurons. They accumulate there and triggers its degradation. Without this insulation, our neuron signals break down. This process is directly linked to the pathology of diseases like multiple sclerosis and Alzheimer's. In fact, studies show that brains from dementia patients contain up to 10 times more microplastics than healthy brains. We are seeing a direct physical mechanism for how plastic pollution can cause neurodegenerative disease. This damage begins even before we are born. Nanoplastics cross the placental barrier, exposing the developing fetus to this toxic load. The development brain is sensitive to hormone electrical disruption. As our report highlights, chemicals common in plastics like BPA are known endocrine disruptors that interfere with fetal brain development. This is therefore no surprise that we are seeing a frightening correlation between exponential rise in plastics pollution and the rise in the neurodevelopmental disorders like autism. While correlation is not causation, the evidence for a mechanical link is becoming overwhelmingly strong. This leads us to the most existential threat of all: infertility. Sperm counts in men have plummeted by over 60% in the last 50 years. Microplastics have ever found in every human semen and ovarian fluid sample tested. In men, they damage the mitochondria that power the sperm cell, immobilizing it. In women, they disrupt follicular development. Based on these acceleration trends, leading demographers and scientists forecast that humanity may become effectively infertile by 2045. This is not a distant possibility. It is trajectory we are currently on. So what can be done? Section 4 of our report analyzes current strategies, and the picture is bleak. We cannot filter them out. More than a decade ago, representatives of the ALLATRA international scientific community put forward the hypothesis that plastic pollution would exert an increasingly significantly influence on climate anomalies and exacerbate public health challenges. Today, these hypotheses are being confirmed by independent studies conducted by leading scientific institutions. As part of its strategy to counter this threat, the ALLATRA movement has proposed two key directions, both with practical applications and predictive potential. The first involves the large-scale implementation of atmospheric water generation technologies, which can simultaneously address freshwater scarcity and contribute to the removal of microplastic particles from the atmosphere and oceans. However, the deployment of AVG technologies must also take into account potential risks, specifically that the increased concentration of NNPs in the air and the resulting intensification of inhalation exposure in humans. This underscores the urgent need for the parallel development of highly effective filtration and protective systems. The second strategic direction proposed by ALLATRA involves the development of the methods to neutralize or shield the electrostatic charge of nanoplastics, one of the primary factors contributing to their toxicity. Charged nanoplastic particles actively may interact with cell membranes, proteins, and genetic material, forming stable molecular bonds. These particles can penetrate biological barriers, including the blood-brain barrier, accumulating in tissues, and trigger a cascade of cellular disruptions, from oxidative stress to apoptosis. Reducing the electrostatic activity of micro and nanoplastics could significantly decrease their harmful effects and slow their accumulation in the human body. Distinguished delegates, their evidence is clear. The nanoplastic threat is multifaceted, systemic, and existential. The solution must be found now, for all of us. Our collective future depends entirely on the actions we take today. Thank you.